Good evening. Happy Saturday. It's Lana. And I thought I'd just kind of chime in and see how everyone's doing tonight and ask you, how do you love? How do you love? Conditionally or unconditionally? Now, most of us want to say that we love unconditionally. But truly, you have to look at if you have certain expectations of another person. And if you're able to love them where they're at without thinking you can change them, make them better, that you know what they need that would help them. Because anytime we think we need to help someone or change them or come up with some better version of them, that's called conditional. The unconditional is not trying to impose yourself. Unconditional means there are no conditions. There are no, if this person were this way, I can love them for where they're at. Because a conditional love means they have to meet your expectations in order to receive the love that you would be willing to give if they met those conditions. So I thought I'd do this tonight, just a short little video, and if anybody wants to have a dialogue, has any questions, any comments, please do click some words down there, um, because ultimately we will set out to change the world and rarely look at changing ourselves. We think we can fix another when we don't look at what maybe we could work on within ourselves. And so when we get into that conditional state of, oh, I can go out and I can help all these people. Oh, those poor people, let me help them. It sounds really like you are in a position to change and help and be this really great person, but it's your ego trying to boost yourself because, oh, I can go and help a poor person, but that's your perception of what you consider poor based on your past and your experience and everything that has come into your scope of life and living. We can't impose ourselves and think we know what is better for another. I remember growing up when I was younger, and there was the Sally Struthers commercials where she would be talking about the Africans who were poor and famished and just a few cents a day. And if you donate, if you contribute, here she was walking amongst all these emaciated Africans in her healthy state and trying to point out something that we could never truly understand because we don't live there. And one of the things about our society and our culture is it will try to guilt us into thinking we need to help everybody else but ourselves. We're not taught in this life to stop and look at ourselves and see where we're at. We're supposed to look outward and try to contribute to fix everything around us. But ultimately, we are no good at trying to help others if we can't work on what we need to work on in ourselves. So I'm reading what you just wrote, Craig. If you married a person for who they were, why do you want to change them? Exactly. This is the truth. This is what life is all about. Why did you get involved with somebody that you felt that you could improve upon if they weren't perfect for you to begin with? Because when we talk about true love, we have no rationale for why we love the people that we do. And even the quirks that they may have that later down the road we may think we need to change are things that we've encompassed, we've embraced, and we loved about them in the beginning. So why is it that we get into that mode where all of a sudden we're bored enough to see what we loved about a person to want to make them change that about themselves? Because when we embrace something about a person, we are encouraging that. And so it is interesting. There's a lot of that goes on where people get involved with people and they don't turn around. They're not honest with themselves about where the real issue lies. You're not trying to change them to your ideals for the right reasons. See, interestingly enough, usually if you're getting annoyed by somebody and you feel they need to change something about themselves, it's because of something it's triggering in yourself that needs to be looked at. For example, let's say bad behaviors are just in general. There's a bad behavior about somebody and it really bugs the heck out of you. You really get like it gets under your skin. A lot of times it's because we care so much that we don't want to see them suffering because we wouldn't want somebody we love to suffer. So we assume that they can't figure it out on their own and we punish them more, even more so, just like we would punish ourselves. Now this is a little bit deeper when you think about it. It's like that person's annoying me, but if you can get under the surface of it all, it's because you're annoyed with the aspect of yourself that maybe you didn't necessarily fully heal from because it triggered you, obviously. And it's something that you have to really go within and say, wow, I had that bad behavior and I would never want anybody to have seen it and I don't want it to come out, but you also don't want that other person to continue to suffer the way you may have suffered because of that bad behavior. So the interesting dynamic is that we can turn around and victimize somebody for something that we ourselves have experienced and been a part of because we want them to be in a good space. But yet we get mad at them because we're not recognizing where we need to have the compassion. So instead of being compassionate and saying, wow, I get that, been there, done that, we tend to do the opposite. It's very passive aggressive. It's like you get angry with somebody who's got a behavior that you had at one point and you weren't able to change at the time, but then eventually you came to a realization and were able to make a change. And you almost feel like, well, they should get it because I got it. So it's it's very egotistical to think that, well, I got it. I got a clue. I figured it out. I no longer have that behavior or that addiction. Why can't they figure it out? Not everybody's going to go through the same experiences at the same speed with growth in their own lives. You just have to just give them compassion and love them where they're at. That's unconditional, is to just allow them their process, allow them to work through what they need to do. We're all working toward the same thing in the end. Love, peace, harmony, joy, connection. We all want the same thing. Now, how we go about getting it always turns out to be a different journey for each person. So I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. I personally have been working on my own self-love, and that's probably what's given me the most compassion toward others and allowed me to really tap into this unconditional love. Because in order to have unconditional love for another, you have to start with yourself. You have to remove the expectations of what you want yourself to look like or anybody else. And when you start getting more in tune and aware of your behaviors, your thought processes, the belief systems that you've had, the experiences, and embracing everything for what they have been throughout the course of your life, it becomes more of a flow and more of a loving energy in your life. It's very simple for us to get caught up in the dramas, but it's just as easy to take a deep breath and have compassion and smile and just remember, we've all been there. And now we have to come back for self-love and self-care. Once you become more aware of yourself, you can become more aware of others. So many blessings. Be safe, be well. I love you. Good night.